For decades, it was a museum without a permanent home. Now it's hard to imagine Canberra without it. The National Museum of Australia was a centenary of Federation gift to the nation. But when visitors got their first look in March 2001, opinions were divided. Critics puzzled over the museum's twisted forms and features lifted straight from the world's great buildings. Architect Howard Raggatt had taken plenty of risks, but 20 years on, he still loves it.
The architecture seems to have stood up okay as well. You know, it doesn't look dated or something. It looks right. Looks like it belongs.
There are plenty of bold statements here, but it was in the subtle and the secret where Howard Raggatt really left his mark, like the braille messages embossed on the walls.
Most of the things on the building, they say things like mate, they say things like she'll be right, good as gold, love is blind.
But when a furious government learnt that the politically heated word sorry was also included, it demanded the architects censor their own work. In this interview from 2001, you can still see the original panels unadulterated over Howard Raggatt's shoulder.
The idea that we came up with, you might be able to see in the background, was putting additional dots, essentially crossing out the offending terminology.
Now, did you censor every reference to sorry in this building?
I don't know that we did, but we censored enough for people to be happy with it. I don't know that anybody checked up on us. And we may not have been as thorough as we should have been.
From day one, the National Museum was dogged by politics. Founding director Dawn Casey ran foul of conservative critics for a perceived sympathetic retelling of Indigenous Australian history.
Well, there was all the discussions around the history wars and the culture wars, that there was a black armband view of history, was not found to be the case by the independent reviewers.
But her critics got their way, and Dawn Casey was sacked.
No, I was never angry about it. I was just, I suppose, more hurt about it, because it was just extraordinary to complete that building on time and on budget. Good visitation numbers, good satisfaction levels. So yes, it didn't seem fair.
I think it was an important part of the museum opening its doors to embrace the discussion that emerged at that time, and she did that.
The museum's brief was to tell the nation's stories, from Indigenous Australia to modern day. Whether it's Phar Lap's heart or the first Holden prototype, these were our connections with ordinary Australia.
The way the museum has changed and developed over time has kept pace with the changes that we've seen in Australian life, and we're a different Australia now than we were 20 years ago, and we're a different museum now than we were when we opened in 2001.
And much more change is coming. There's a massive project underway to revamp galleries, still struggling to address the legacy of that original layout. Well, Matt, one of the criticisms from visitors was it's a little bit hard to navigate sometimes in the museum, but this is quite a different looking space now.
Well, one of the great things we've been able to do, Craig, is really open all of this up. So this is the entry gallery to the museum's permanent galleries. It'll be really clear now when you come into the permanent galleries where you're headed and what the space contains, and that's a great improvement.
So where will the next 20 years take the National Museum of Australia? Well, Howard Raggatt's back with some more imaginative ideas, incorporated in a $120 million master plan, a bold strategy to dramatically enlarge the institution.
I think inevitably it will double in size, Craig, because that's would be sensible and realistic when we consider the great breadth of the collection that we can't show, on this site. We simply don't have the room.
Those plans will have to wait until post-pandemic. But more immediately, the founding director wants that sorry chapter of censorship scrapped once and for all.
And it now needs to be uncovered. Sorry is not an issue. The government's apologised.
The controversy over the National Museum of Australia is now 20 years old, but shows no sign of ending anytime soon. Craig Allen, ABC News, Canberra.